Yep.
Hello. How we doing?
I'm still making. I'm still putting my treats together.
Right? Nothing wrong with that. Well, one thing I completely forgot, I didn't realize I did not have was saltine crackers.
That's right. I was supposed to have sour cream. I mean, you don't do chili without sour cream, and I have none. We used it all yesterday.
Ah,
And of all the stuff I went to get from the store today, that is one thing I didn't get. And the other thing I did, because I like to have onions on top of my chili, raw onions.
yep.
I
Me too.
cut up a red onion today because that's what I was putting in the chili. And the ones that go on top should be yellow onions because this is a really strong smell in my office right now.
Right. Yes, that was the one thing I forgot to chop up. There was some onions that were kind of on top. So now because I reheated, so it's on top. I did bring cheddar cheese.
Okay.
My sour cream. And because I didn't have saltines, Ritz is the next thing, but saltines are just the best. That or a piece of like sourdough. Oh, that's like yummy on the chili.
So, sourdough bread, little bread pieces. Okay, my onions, of course, I have, you know what I mean? Now, I used a full onion because most of the onion went into my chili, but I saved this much of it to put on top. And I didn't get crackers to put in my chili. I also forgot to bring cheddar cheese in because I have some of that to spray on there, but I didn't. I'm going to put these in there.
Love it. Gotta love it. Okay, let's see your chili. I want to see your chili.
Okay, here's the chili.
Oh, I'm going to get a picture of your chili and my chili.
And this chili has been slow cooking since, oh man, yours is a little more, yours looks a little thicker, a little more meatier.
So I will tell you that I don't mind making chili. And the secret to my chili is using short rib. So I use short rib in my chili. I also will put ground beef in there, but the short rib is, in my opinion, the bomb for chili. This chili, I will admit, I did not make it. Sean says, I'm making chili. And I said, great, save me some. It is for Monday's podcast. So he did. He did. So this is Sean chili. I did have some yesterday because I was starving. And so in between everything, I wasn't yesterday, Saturday, I had some because it was like I had with Rotary, we did a Veterans Day breakfast. So did that first in the morning. And I got from doggy sitting, little mister right here. So as I was doggy sitting him, then needed to get to that. So I needed to make room or time for him and where I was going to situate him because we were going to be inside. He needed to stay outside. We were making pancakes outside. So I put him outside and I put his blankie there, his bowl, his water, his toy, and I was running in and out with the pancakes. So they asked me because he was whining because I wasn't there. They're like, how'd you get him to stop? I said, I told him to stop. And they looked at me. I said, well, I'm out here and he keeps seeing me. So he's okay because he sees me. I go in, drop off the pancakes, come back out. So that kept them pretty calm. The boy is attached to me. So then from there, went to a 5K Run for Beer race, which was his first race with me and first time running. And then from there, we went over to Sean's. And then after I showered, changed and all, he thought, you hungry? I'm like, I'm starving. So he gave me a little bit of chili, which was so yummy. And so then the rest of it was for the podcast. So I wanted to eat this since yesterday and I didn't. So it's different than what I make, but it is still pretty darn good. So
I just dumped a mini bag of cheddar goldfish on my chili.
Oh. So I went to this one barbecue place in Vancouver with my friend Sylvia. This was like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. I can't remember. I lose track of time with her. And what they did was that they got a bag of Fritos, opened up the bag of Fritos, and then put the chili on top of the Fritos.
Yep. That's a Texas thing.
Yeah, so I was like, that is so good. I was like, oh my goodness, it was different. But I will have to say that in doing this, there's a lot of history that goes along with chili. I didn't know if you knew that, how much history there was. And there's controversies. And then what do you put in chili? I mean, even Sheldon Cooper, he says, well, this is really good, whatever this is, because with some, you don't put beans in chili, and with others you do.
Yeah.
It's definitely a comfort food, and it varies, but it's usually the Southwest and the Midwest is where it is mainly agreed how much of a hearty dish it is. It's just this deliciousness of food. And then, of course, you have your chile con carne, which is your chili with meat. That's the official state dish of Texas, in case y'all didn't know. I'm sure you did because you're in Texas. So it's gone back to when chili peppers were farmed 10,000 years ago. And even there's a book that was on New Mexico chilies, the history. And so it's going back to then where it was like, hey, making stuff with chilies. But one of the earlier stories was with Bernal Diaz. He's a Spaniard back in 1868 or so, where he tells the story of the Aztecs who stewed sacrificed conquistadores with chili peppers, tomatoes, and spices. So imagine having, those that were trying to take over their lands and said, you know what, we're going to cook you instead. So it reminded me of the Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs Bunny's in the pot and he's like, bathing, and they go to baste him and he's all, the back, please, the back. That's what that reminded me of. Just, these conquistadores with being cooked in what would be like a mole with chili. Mm-hmm. But it could be true, could be not, it's many, many eons ago. But it wasn't until the 1828s where there's a little bit more history on there, where it was considered a kind of hash with many peppers and pieces of meat. And a lot of historians think that Texas is the birthplace of chile con carne. But who's going to get the credit? There's so many. So it just depends on who are you going to listen to, who are you going to believe. From Texas to the gold-seeking 49ers on their way to California, the Mexican. And so there's just so many different stories of how meat has been prepared with all these spices and the types of the Mexican Gold Trail, talks about, the chili, the kettling and the boiling of waters with cornmeal thickening and the meats and all the things. So for me, it's about meat and the beans. And I have made chili without beans. What I usually put in my chili is a white bean. So either a canili or a navy. So anything that's white is what I prefer to put into my chili. But I'm also using short ribs along with the ground beef, and then I put in the white bean the very, very end. So that's just my preference. This is different than what I make, but I still add the onions on top, the fresh onions and the cheddar, and I will sometimes add sour cream, and I do love with my saltine crackers. So no matter how, I still want that. I prefer it over the bowl because the bowl will absorb everything and then it makes it soggy. I want to make it my level of soggy where I'm dipping in as much as I want. So, you know what? It's and in each part of the U.S., you have different ways of it being prepared. In San Antonio, it's going to be different than in Dallas. And then you have the Midwest, where in Chicago, that's where it was first introduced as a Texas-born dish, but they make their own. And then Oklahoma, that's dated back to 1897. And then cookbooks, it appeared in cookbooks in the early 1903 and 1905 in Oklahoma. So
but let's take this out of cookbooks. Nobody follows the cookbook for chili. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, has their own chili recipe.
Exactly.
The dog there has his own chili recipe.
Right. And the thing is that I will add beer to my chili.
I made beer in I put beer in mine too. And I don't put cheap beer in my chili.
Well, mine is Lakem Brewing. So this is one that, of course, great beers can't help but to like them. So you can't help but like them, good beers. So this is the Rhinestone Eyes, and it's a 5.2%. This is the one where, because Maverick was pulling me along, I came in first. And this was the first time I had came in first female with the run for beer. So this is the one I picked. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be pretty good with this chili because of the type of beer that it is. So,
well, I'll get into my recipe in a minute, but of course, being in Texas, I'm going to have the Texas Ranchers Amber Lager from the 4 Sixes. Thank you to the folks out there at 4 Sixes Ranch for giving me this wonderful beer.
Look at that. Look at that color. So we both went with what would be when
I get mine up there, I'll show you. Let's compare color. Mine's a little light. You got a darker.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say,
Yeah, put it back up. I want to get a picture of that.
All right. Yeah, we got it. We've got, hold on. We've got a little bit darker on your side.
Yep.
No,
Thank you.
but it's a good beer to go.
Oh, and I got to show, I think I have better lighting here. I am wearing the Jefas Sin Límites red.
Yeah.
And I took a sip, nothing is on there. I mean, I really like this lipstick. The thing is, it is red. And so it's not my everyday wear, but I will wear it at night.
But it is the podcast wear.
Yes, it's the podcast wear. And then, of course, I have to have my Mount Angel celebration of German. So German sausage. So this was from another race. So 2 different races here that I did. But I
just poured it into the one small beer glass. I had a choice: small beer glass, big beer glass. I chose small beer glass because I'm going to sip this along for the podcast tonight. So, but yeah, everybody does have their own chili recipe, and I guarantee you put 5 people in a room, you will have 6 different chili recipes.
True story.
Right? Maybe even 10, because some people are going to combine their recipes.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. Now, I have a starter recipe, and I know you talk about beans. I like beans in my chili, and I know a lot of people who don't.
Right.
And I don't care. It is my chili. If you don't like my chili, don't eat it.
I was going to say,
that's what chili's all about. I have done 3 bean. Today I didn't, but I've done 3 bean where I've put the black beans in, your white beans in, and then your red chili beans in. So 3 beans at one time. And that's a lot of, it soaks, all right? It soaks a lot of, when you do that, you have to put a lot of extra water because it soaks up your water when you do that. Right. Soaks up your whatever liquid you put in. However, I do like a drier chili. I don't like a very liquidy chili.
Exactly. I like it a little bit thicker. It's just, in my opinion, it just has a richer flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I mean, mine,
yeah.
If it was soupy, there's broth in there, but it also holds up to, a nice big spoonful.
So if you we put it on a spoon to show the differences between our chili, right? Look at our spoons, right? And that's, you want me to go into mine first? You want to go into yours first?
Go into yours.
I make chili on the day of when I'm going to do something.
All
right. So the fact that we had the show today, I made my chili today. I cut everything up between 10 and 11 a.m. this morning and put it into the pot to slow cook all day. Oh, so my kitchen smelled like good chili all afternoon. I used to not do this, but I've done both ways. Today I chose to fry my beef first. I used an 80-20 beef,
Okay.
All right. I've also made it with venison. I really like it with venison. All right, or a turkey chili, a good turkey chili. Again, not your beef is going to be a little more greasier, right? But the turkey chili and your venison chili's got a more lean. All right, so you do have to have a lot of other things in there for the flavor, and it doesn't. It also causes your chili not to be as
Soupy. Fatty.
Yeah. So, please, Mom, don't distract me. The other thing that I put into it is, so I put my beef into it. All right, I put the beef in a pan. All right, and fry it up. I add, all right, when I'm frying it or cooking it on a frying pan, I add salt. I add onion salt.
Okay.
I add garlic salt.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right? And I add pepper, and I brown the meat. After the meat is browned, I will then put in half of my onions, and I will put in my diced tomatoes, and I will let it simmer with that while I finish chopping everything else up.
Okay.
Right? I chopped up a red pepper, 2 jalapeno peppers, a red onion,
Okay.
and I didn't put any additional tomatoes into it. And then I put my chili beans into it. I have 1 can of chili beans into it. Normally, I said sometimes I do the 3 beans, but that's all today. Then I let it. I put the beef in, and I just let it slow cook for about 4 hours. After about 4 hours, I opened it up and did a taste test, because this is the thing. At 4 hours, you can start to get your taste and go, okay, well, what did I forget? I added cumin. I added some more garlic salt, some more salt and pepper.
Right.
All right. And the one thing that I was tasting, I'm like, man, it feels like it's missing something. So this is another thing I like to add to mine: a good salsa.
Oh.
I'm talking a whole container of salsa dumped into it.
Okay.
All right, because you're going to use all your additives coming from your salsa.
Right.
To get in there. So, yeah, that's all I have into it. And then I basically let it sit and cook all day long. And go out and stir it every couple of hours. To me, the slow cooker is your friend when you're doing chili. This idea of let me put it in a pot and cook it, I did that many years ago, and I didn't like it. I like when you just let that sucker slow roast over a warm heat all day long. All right, it brings it to the air in the house. All right.
Yeah, it's just so last week after the podcast, because I had cooked from my place, the next day is when the little Murray boy here was brought to me, and owners walk in and they're like, the parents of Murray, and they are like going, oh my goodness, it smells so good. And I'm like, that's because I've been cooking. And I had reheated some of the food, and so it was just in the air. But I love the smell of food in my house. It's just comfort. For me, it's so when I make mine, and of course, this is not this recipe. This one has ground beef, and it's probably the 7% lean, because that's what Sean likes. There's onions, there's tomatoes, there are pinto beans and black beans in here. You can taste the spices in there, so plenty of spices that went into this. And I don't know if he added anything else. Now, traditional, so the World Championship of Chili are traditional red, which is what is a traditional chili, chili verde, which is a green home style chili, and then veggie chili. Now, the purists say that it's been meat. It consists of meat, red chili peppers, and spices. That's it. No fillers, no beans, no rice, no pasta, no anything. So that's traditional. Now, for me, in my chili, I will add, I like to add like other things, like if I have a red bell pepper or a green bell pepper, I will add that to my chili. I do love to cook the onions in there, and because the onions just give it so much flavor. And then I like to cook with fresh garlic, but in a chili, I prefer the granulated garlic. So not the garlic salt, but just garlic. So that's what I prefer. I'm adding a little bit of cumin in there. I'm adding a little bit of, maybe depending on when I'm tasting it, I might add other things like maybe I'll add maybe, and it's not always. That's why my chili tastes different each time. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a little bit of ginger or a little bit of clove, but definitely cumin, salt, pepper, garlic. Those are my dry spices. I may throw in something else, like maybe I'll throw in a little bit of oregano. So it just depends on my feel. But I definitely season the meat. I love to brown it. And then, of course, I like to cook it in the broth before I add all my other ingredients. And then, of course, because if I do add the white chili, it's at the very end when this is done. And all I'm doing is, and I do cheat, I do get a can of the white chili. I rinse it and then I dump it in so that it just warms right through. And then, of course, I'm adding my cheddar cheese on top, or sharp cheddar cheese, Tillamook sharp cheddar. And then, of course, your dollop of daisy. And then serve it with either like you did with sourdough bread or with saltines. Except for today, because Ritz is the way to go today, because that's what I have.
Any saltines, but no, I did add, the other things I did add to it was a beer. All right, I put in today. I had choices today of Corona. All right, I usually go with a light beer as opposed to a dark beer in my chili.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The other thing that I added today was I added a half of a chocolate bar, dark chocolate, and let it melt in.
Okay. Hence, when I was looking things up, it's that sense of mole.
Yeah.
Because that has chocolate in it.
And I forgot, I did add chili powder, of course, to it. I've done in the past, I've done
That's right.
poblano peppers as well as chili peppers into it, fresh, cut up. I decided to use jalapeno peppers this time, but I took the seeds out. There's a key. All right.
Yeah.
You cook chili with your pepper and put your seeds in.
Oh,
my God, it will burn.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's just too much for it. So.
If I have hatch chilies, I will throw those in there. Also, finely chopped. Everything that I put in my chili is finely chopped. So yes, I have done that where I've added hatch chili because it just gives it, especially if I've roasted it, it's got that smoky flavor in there. Sometimes I will add smoked paprika. So there's so much you can do to chili. You got to make it your own, and that's the fun part of it. You got to make it your own.
The one thing I didn't put in, and my daughter and I talked about doing it, was some of your hot Louisiana sauce.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought about that.
But like, to me, that's something you'd want to add on at the end. That's not something you cook into it. You'd add that as an extra.
Oh, yeah. When you serve, then you add it as your topping.
Yes. I think cooking it in would take the bite out of it. All right. And I don't want to take the bite out of it.
Yeah, certain things, you want them to balance out your chili. So with this beer, I mean, this is like a very nice beer. I'm actually enjoying it more now than when I originally tasted it. When I originally tasted it, it was great, but it was after a run. It was a little bit heavier than I would like after a run. Usually after a run, unless it's cold, I want something a little bit lighter. This one, it goes beautifully. And it's the Rhinestone Eyes. So it's an alt beer, has it at the bottom. But yeah, it's, it tastes beautiful. It's just got that nice flavor. That's a little bit richer that can withstand the chili, because with all the spices can overpower a lot of different beers. So this is kind of a nice choice. I'm glad I went with this one, just like I'm sure you're happy with your amber to go with your chili.
It does. The amber ale is because it's one of the beers I like. I was going to do, I put Corona I was going to do Corona with it, but I thought, no, that gave me my light acidity. So I wanted to go with something darker.
Right.
A little bit darker.
That's a great choice of how you did that, because adding
Yes, Sean, you
yeah.
add beer to your chili. You didn't know that?
Well, he's the one that made it, so I don't think he added beer to his. And what I originally was going to do, and I didn't have time, busy time of year, is that I was going to add some beer to the chili, cook it, and then so that way it would add a little bit of complexity to it. But it tasted so good the way it was that I'm like, no, because then what if something's off and now I have to add other spices, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. Sean did a beautiful job on it. I'm gonna enjoy it just the way it is. So so thank you very much. Cheers to you. And there is still some left in here.
Cheers. So to me, beer is a great additive to it. And I know some recipes I've seen called for putting beer in and then adding water. I tend to lay heavily on the beer and less on the water. All right. I just again, I like a thicker chili, but to me, I want to use the liquid from the beer as my liquid. All right. It just it puts more weight to the dish.
Yes. I usually add beef broth and then beer. So it's a combination of both. If I don't have beer, I might not. I have added wine to my chili. It's not the same. Beer just it just goes well. I don't know what it is that is in the beer that cooks much better in chili.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. However, I do have a chili wine. Come to think of it, two red hatch chili wine and a green hatch chili wine.
Ah, yes, we've had that conversation. Yeah. So it's you got to sometimes experiment, and sometimes what you can do is, if you have your normal chili, pull a portion of it out, a small pot, and experiment with that little pot. That way, not the whole chili. Because what if you don't like it? You didn't ruin your. Maybe others love it, but you don't. Yeah. So just pull off a small pot, play with that one, add something different, try something new, see how you like it. If you don't like it, you still have your big pot of chili, because you never make a little bit of chili. It's always
a lot. Yeah. Have you ever, I'm going to ask you this, have you ever added extra sugar to yours? I have never added extra sugar to mine. I do know people have done it because they didn't think it was sweet enough, right? I've never, because there's so many sweet ingredients that go into chili, let alone, everybody thinks of chili as the spice and bite, but no, there's so many things that go into it have sweetness to them, that it gives the right sweetness and right bite with what the ingredients are, not without that. How heavily do you salt yours?
I'm constantly tasting my food. Does it need more salt? And the thing is, you can never remove the salt. You can always add more salt.
Yeah.
I usually err on the side of caution, but as I'm tasting, if I feel, because the meat's going to be browned with the seasonings, with the salt and pepper and garlic. And then as it's cooking, some of that flavors are going to come out. And of course, if I'm putting beef broth in there, there's a certain level of salt in there. So I always want to be cautious of the things. If I'm putting in a can of tomatoes versus a can of stewed tomatoes, is there no salt or no added salt? Is there sugars in there? All of those things will make a difference. The brands that you use, if you're using the Kroger brand versus the Mr. S and Mr. W, they might have a little bit of difference in sugar content and sodium content. So that's why I'm always tasting, and I usually like to add it towards, if I've done my initial, because I have a certain that I do where it's doing the salt. And then once it's all mixed, and then once it's cooked, then I'm tasting it again. What does this taste like? Yeah. And sometimes knowing I'm going to add cheese to it and sour cream, well, that's going to add in my saltine crackers. That's a certain level of salt that's in there. Yeah. Sodium. So when I eat it, it's going to have a different flavor. So I want to make sure that if I'm doing that I'm not over salting something. So,
another thing that, is because, as I said, I use the salsa in mine today. I actually thought of going to get some pico.
Okay.
And using that as part of my chili. But then I thought, would you want cilantro or parsley in there? It's something I've never done in a chili, but I don't know. I can't say I don't know until I try it. And it's one of those things I may have to pull a small amount out, put some in and try it to see on an additive. But yeah.
Well, the good thing is with pico, for the most part, it's more onion and tomato forward.
Yes.
And very little cilantro. And some of the places, depending on where you buy it or where you get it, some of them just go with tomatoes and onions, and that's it. They may not put cilantro in there.
Yeah.
And then again, what's the seasonings that they're putting in there? Is it just salt and pepper and garlic, or is it just salt? Are they not? How much lemon or lime did they add in it? Did they add to it? So now you're introducing citrus to your chili.
Yeah, I've never done citruses in my chili, but have you ever done corn in your chili?
So last weekend, I did the Silver Falls Half Marathon on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to provide what would be for the masses, because there was, 1,000 people ran from Fridays 5K, Saturdays 10K, not 10K. They did a 7-miler, a marathon, and a 50K. And then on Sunday, they did the half marathon. A lot of people, they sell out every year. Well, on Sunday when I ran, and I did this all weekend, was that they provided us with a vegetarian chili. Had it been this weekend, guess what? I would have not just brought Sean's chili, but I would have said, I want a bowl to go.
Yeah. And brought
Sunday,
that.
so I would have brought it. But they had chili and there was corn in there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more veggies in there. There was some celery in there. The celery was not forward. It was just kind of on the, just there. But it was very bean forward. So I think there might have been 4 different types of beans. I know that there was pinto beans, black beans. I think there's a white bean, and then the kidney beans.
Mm-hmm.
That was in there. And then, of course, the corn. And the corn they got a really good corn. It was like just this sweetness that was just this. And then with the bread, that was a local bread also that had been donated. Darn good chili. I was like going, vegetarian chili. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it was delicious. I would have brought it for the podcast had it been this weekend. I didn't want to freeze it and then thaw it out. It wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
If it would have survived, but
no, chili is the one vegan dish I would be all over. Just saying, because I know some people make some damn good vegan chili.
It was like, I had never had vegetarian chili ever. And they did a darn good job. So
I hit the wrong lever on my chair. Hold on. There we go. Back up.
I was like, you're falling over.
I am. I was
so
looking.
I'll have to thank Wild Adventures they do a really good job every year of their planning and everything. I did their 5K last year on Friday. So as the sun was setting, I was finishing. I was like, man, I'm going to finish before it gets dark, man. This year I did the half marathon. It spanked me. Yeah, that was a good race, but they know how to take care of the participants with food and drink and, all the toppings. They had the cheese and the onions, and all the things. What do you need? Butter for your bread, and a big old fire. So it's always wet and cold, and they know how to make sure that we're nice and warm and feel good about our event when we're done. Keep that runner's high going.
Cool. So chili is just, and I don't know what your temperature is up there today, but it was a cool morning here, but it kind of warmed up in the afternoon. But when we planned this out, we didn't know that whether it was going to be chilly or hot. All right. Chili is just that, to me, it's always that winter food that you can make that is always going to be good no matter what you do with it. You know what I mean?
Winter or fall, it's fine, because even if it's not super cold, if it's in the 50s, even the 60s, you can still tolerate it. Some places, a lot of places will have chili year round. Some of them will only have it during certain time of year. Others will have it like just on the weekends or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But when you're in New Mexico, or in New Mexico or Texas, there's going to be chili year round,
it's usually, and even believe it or not, in your state, surrounding states, Oklahoma, your
Yeah.
Even in your Louisiana type thing. So they're going to have it as well. And you know, it is. It's like that. It's like that. That's why I chose the 4-6s, because it's like that cowboy food that you can put in a pot and you leave it on simmer. All right. You don't take it off the heat. You just leave it on simmer, and it's good to eat anytime. Just go over and dip yourself some and make you have something to eat. It's the one soup I like. I love. Stew, I should say. I love. Yeah.
Yeah. It's warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
That's the way I would describe it. Warm and fuzzy.
Yeah. It is the one thing you want on a cold day.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
No.
And, you know, some places they will get a whole sourdough bread and then they hollow it out and they put the chili inside. That's a little too much for me. I would rather have it, you know, a slice or two of sourdough bread on the side, with or without butter, because I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the chili on the bread or on my cracker and make sure that I get every bite with all the things. I make sure that there's a little bit of sour cream. I make sure there's a little bit of cheese, a little bit of onion. I want that bite to just be yummy. And I love the crunchiness of an onion. So that's why I usually like white onion or even a purple onion.
A white or yellow onion is usually best. The red onion still got too much of a punch to go with the chili, because it takes from the.
Yeah, and what you can do with the bread is you can soak it in water for 15 minutes, pull it out, pat it dry, and once it's dry, then chop it up, and it still maintains its crunch, but it mellows it out.
Yeah.
So that's another option. But
now the bread that I used to have is like, if you're in the Northeast, when I lived up in the Northeast, it was the Kaiser roll, a bread made from the same stuff as a Kaiser roll. All right, that like thin outside crust, but inside really soft and fluffy. Right, that there with butter on it was one of my favorites. So, as a matter of fact, we had when I worked. This would have been 89, 90 time frame, 1989, 1990 time frame. Maybe it was even 91 almost. But I worked for a Midas muffler shop in southeastern Pennsylvania. Not going to say the name of the town because it's not going to matter, and I don't want to give them any credit anymore. But anyway, was not one of my favorite jobs in life. But anyway, we had a lunch truck that would come by. And I don't remember the name of the lady had in the lunch truck, but I remember it was green. And it was a lady who owned it, and she had always had an assistant working with her. And there were two things that you got off of her truck that were fabulous. One was her chili.
Okay.
Her chili, and she would have a small cup of chili, right? And she would give it to you with bread and onions.
No.
And it was one of the most fabulous things to have off that truck. The other one that she had was a steak and egg sandwich.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is something we haven't done on the show yet. Cheese steak, all right, with some scrambled eggs put into it, all right, and that cheese melted into the eggs.
Oh, yum.
Put you a little bit of sauce on that, all right, and it was a cheese steak sandwich, and I know Craig, our mentor and marketing, used to always say, "Get a sandwich named after you at your restaurant."
Right.
And I actually was one of the people who got it successfully done. But it was a special order item. It was not on the menu. And it was a restaurant that I frequented. The lady who started the restaurant has sold it since and moved on. But because I did events there all the time, and I was always there, and I helped around different things, I actually got her to make a sandwich, and she called it, all right, it was called the Rocker Life Coach steak, cheese steak and egg sandwich.
Oh, nice.
And that's, if I ever get another breakfast restaurant I will get them to name that. I will call it the Simple Easy cheesesteak and egg sandwich.
There you go. It's simple. It's easy. Yeah. Nothing complicated about it. Oh, yum. I like that. I had forgotten about that. I'm like, I should. Well, I have the Black Bear Diner across the way, so they have to follow very specific requirements on what they do. So,
but maybe that's something we do as you know what I mean, like like the way you drink. I don't know. Maybe we could have gin or something like that with our name on it. I don't know. Just spitballing.
You know, I might be able to do that. A gin or a whiskey. That is, let me look into that. I'll let you know next week.
The insiders know what we're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you that I sent a message to the insiders to get I haven't seen the results of calling it a lady gin.
Yeah.
You know, because Lady G, so Lady Gin.
Maybe that's what we call. Wait, more. We're the spitball on this one private, but open mastermind right here. Maybe we do a lady gin. All right. And then we do something else for me. All right. In the whiskey category, because I'm more whiskeys.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm definitely whiskey. This is gin is the kind of like mushrooms. It took me forever to like mushrooms, and now it's taken me forever, but I do like gin now. So, and it's very specific, not all gin. But then again, I'm also very particular about my whiskeys and my bourbons and my scotches, you know. And so then I go, okay, what can we do with the whiskey, you know, because it's like Whiskey Tim's, you know, because Whiskey Lady sounded just beautiful, but Lady Gin just kind of went. And then I was trying to figure out how to do Tim's Gin, but then I knew you weren't a big gin person anyway. So I think I like gin a little bit better than you do. And that says a lot when I'm not a gin drinker. So I have to submit.
No. All right. No. We had to get somebody to do vodka for us, and it can be Timmy vodka.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Maybe we have Lady Gin and Timmy vodka. Part of the Like the Way You Drink family.
I like that. I think I can make that happen.
Anyway.
Yeah, I can make that happen. I can
All right. So if you want to find out more, if we're going to do this, you know what you have to do, right?
Besides tell the Insiders Club, nobody else.
No, you have to join the Insiders Club to find out.
For them, I thought you were asking me. It's everybody
no. I'm
else.
just saying to the listeners. All right, you know, if you want to find out whether we're going to do this or not, you have to join the Insiders Club. What a great segue into that.
Right. So go to Like the Way You Drink and sign up. It's free.
Yeah, it's free. You must be 21 to join, though. Yeah.
You get to know all the fun stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. You get to ask questions. You get to give your input. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're not giving your input and you'd like to see something specific, you know what? Guess what? If you're part of the Insiders Club, you get to do that. If you're not, well, then you get what you get. And you might not get. Oh wait, you're not going to get it. That's the thing.
It's not. Insiders also, maybe the insiders will get to pick show ideas, things like that. But hey, if you're not a part of the Insiders Club, you don't find out. So go to likethewayyoudrink.com. There is a button there to join the Insiders Club. Click it and join right now. All right. It is free to join. You must be 21 years of age to join. All right. All expenses in the Insider Club are on you. So if you come to a live event, you must pay for the events. We do not pay for your drinking habits. You must pay for your alcohol, things like that. All right.
I know. I have a hard enough.
You're going to do it anyway. You're going to pay to drink anyway, right? Come do it with friends.
That's right. You know, because it's like I'm maintaining my own self, you know, and so this was one that I had there. I just happen to have it. There's two more of these that I'm like, I had one and then I had this one and I'm like, put in the back. This is a special one, only comes out on special occasions. I know I could probably get more, but every time there's a new batch of something, each new batch is going to be ever so slightly different.
And each new batch is going to make you find a different food to go with it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty about drinking and eating local. You are supporting local, and not only are you supporting local, but you get to try things that others don't have access to. I just saw a meme or whatever it was that they said, when people are looking for sponsors and donations, they're going to the local businesses. And they said, go to Temu and ask them, see how that goes. Yeah. You know, because local business, it's people say, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. But yet when they want sponsorships, that's who they're going to. It's like, well, why don't you go ask Temu? Why don't you go ask Amazon? Why don't you go ask Walmart? Well, they're going to say no to you. Well, they won't even say no. They won't even respond. So support local, you know, because it's the small businesses that are just bringing they're helping the economy. They truly are. And sometimes, yes, they are a little bit more expensive. Like, man, you're going to have a pint of a local beer. You might spend $8 and you go get a Coors Light, you're going to.
But life's too short to drink Coors Light.
Yeah, that's true.
I said it on our podcast. I'm sorry. Or Bud Light.
You got to like the way you
drink. I had a neighbor who used to drink Keystone Light. I'm like, life's too short.
But I will do PBR. I can't say no to PBR because come on, Pabst Blue Ribbon. I laugh every time I think of Pabst Blue Ribbon. So yes, I bought pub beer this weekend, and then I was like, the Pabst Blue Ribbon was a little bit less expensive, and I'm like, yeah, pub beer, because it's from a local brewery. Even though it's pub beer, it's still 10-barrel brewery makes this, and it's delicious.
And you go into a bar, all right, and you pick something out they have on tap. How disappointing is it to you when they come and say, "Oh, we're out of that right now"?
Yeah.
After you spent like 5 minutes like salivating, looking at them, and you go, "That looks pretty good."
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I've done that where they said, "Oh yeah, we're out." It's like, now I have to think about what else I want. When now I have to, get my mindset off the one thing I wanted, and it's like, oh, I don't know what I want. So that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Sean took me down here to Rams, and I wasn't sure what I wanted. So the guy said, well, try this, because I was looking at this, and what do you suggest? He suggested something, and I went, okay, sure. And so I'm like, I smelled it. I didn't think anything of it. We're chit-chatting, and took a sip, and I'm like, I set it down. I took another sip. I'm like, this tastes kind of. Taste this, and this beer tasted like soap.
Oh wow.
And I was like, this does not taste right. And then when Sean says tastes like, he said it tasted like whatever it was, but it was essentially soap is what he said. And so I'm like, yeah, I can't drink that. Okay. So then I went with what I originally was thinking about, because they didn't have what I wanted, but my secondary was okay. And then I went with recommendation, which I was like going, nope.
Yep.
And this weekend, same thing happened where I was like, I smelled it and I'm going, whoa, that is one funky smell, tasted it. And I went, nope. And I said, I can't. After one sip, I'm like, I can't. And she's like, oh, she goes, it's very earthy. I said, oh no, I don't mind earthy. I'm cool with earthy. This is not earthy. And she goes, well, it's very much barnyard. I said, exactly. And not the fun part of the barnyard either. It was not good wine.
All right. We've reached 3/4 of the hour on our broadcast. I know we're trying to keep these to 45 minutes now. Yes. Of course, this was a great subject to talk about this week. All right. We had some great beers, some great chili recipes. I know chili's not something you're going to be doing in the next week. I do know next week we have a great show planned next week, just before Thanksgiving, but we're going to also be doing our after Thanksgiving. I think this is will be our third year in a row to do our leftovers episode, which will be in 2 weeks. I don't have my calendar visible. Hold on, let me bring it up.
I'm pulling it up. Yeah.
And so on the 27th, we will be doing our famous Thanksgiving leftover show. I think that'll be episode 86.
That is so cool.
So yeah, this week is episode 84. All right, guys. This episode. Go ahead, say it.
So next week.
Yeah.
Because it's the week right before Thanksgiving. So the question is, what do you have for breakfast on Thanksgiving Day? Because I know we would get up early and we'd start cooking first thing in the morning. We might make coffee because usually the pot was on, but and then we're cooking this big meal and it's like, oh, we have nothing for breakfast or lunch. So I've gotten better at making sure that I'm planning for breakfast and lunch and snacks. So what do you have for breakfast on Thanksgiving Day? Because there's so much cooking going on. What do you do?
There's a lot of things I do, and there's no set meal time on Thanksgiving Day because I do, a breakfast. I do a breakfast Bloody Mary. Then I go into cooking the oysters on the grill. We do quite a few different little things, and then you know what I mean. while I'm getting the grill warmed up, I'm getting the fire going to start smoking that turkey.
Yum, yum, yum. Yeah, I
Well, we're going
learned.
to talk about breakfast next week anyway.
Yes, so we'll talk about all that. But that's for our listeners.
Yeah.
What is it that you do? What's your breakfast?
What do you do for breakfast? We're going to talk about both our breakfast food as well as breakfast drinks because we have them both. So anyway, this show is brought to you every week, ladies and gentlemen, by Gladys and I and our businesses. So we always do a quick commercial here at the end. All right, stay tuned. Listen to the commercial because actually we may know somebody to help you. Just saying. All right. We always start off with the ladies because I always believe in ladies first. So with that, Miss Gladys, why don't you tell us about your business?
Good afternoon, y'all. It's Gladys Boutwell with Insurance by Design. I help employers attract and retain quality staff through employee benefits. There's 101 employee benefits for all budgets. If you go to insurancedesignpros.com, up on the upper left-hand corner, you can download the white paper that will give you those ideas because you might say, well, how can I attract and retain? Well, you show your staff how much you care about them and you give them little things that sometimes will cost you very little money and they will absolutely appreciate you. My book is coming out on 101 employee benefits for all budgets, where it'll go into a little bit more details as to the why and how others have implemented some of these tactics and have absolutely had great results. So insurancedesignpros.com. And if you want to get on my calendar to talk about what can you do, go to enrollnoworegon.com. You don't have to live in Oregon. I will guide you and then I will find you a local broker if I can help you. So that's enrollnoworegon.com for my schedule. And I will pass it over to my co-host, Tim.
Hey, Tim Gillette, Simple Easy Websites. Do you know what web page needs to be on your website this week? I do because I'm in the website business. It's time to actually be announcing what you're going to do for Black Friday. You should have been announcing it all month, and you should have had a page be popping up to tell those people come to your website, hey, this is going to be my Black Friday special available all month. And it should be something you do throughout the month. All right. You can incorporate it and play the day-by-day games. All right. I'm a firm believer in there's 2 sales a year. All right. One of them happens to be Black Friday. And you should be doing something for a Black Friday sale, Black Friday giveaway, or create what we like to call a Black Friday sales funnel. Anyway, if you were ever thinking about having one of them or want one of them as part of your website every year, call us at Simple Easy Websites or go to simpleeasywebsites.com, book a consultation. I'll talk to you about a plan where you can be involved in getting that done. That's all I got for you.
And go to likethewayyoudrink.com to sign up for the Insiders Club.
That too. I think I put it right there. There we go. All right. Yeah. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up another week and say we will see you next week. In the meantime, cheers.